Hi everyone. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the backgrounds of liberal feminism. So a little bit of enlightenment. So a little bit on the background of enlightenment. We think about enlightenment theorizing. We want to think about this as a few important premises. One being that mankind could be perfected. The idea that should all of mankind really be able to rationally think about things, that we could indeed achieve perfect rationality, that truth could be knowable. So remember that in some other videos, I'm going to talk about this idea of a Parmenidean versus a Heraclitean world, a knowable truth. Enlightenment thinking thinks about a knowable truth. So mankind could be perfected, that all men are created equal. Now, when we think about this, we really should consider all men are created equal. Does this leave room for women? This sounds familiar, hopefully, to many of you, right? The Declaration of Independence, all men created equal, the Magna Carta, this idea of equality, right? From the French Revolution, right? This idea of all men created equal. But while in the modern era we think of all men created equal to mean mankind or humankind, in the time in which it's written, we might be skeptical of that sort of thinking. In fact, rationality as the harbinger of rights really did, in this moment in time, exclude women. So, rationality is the basis for rights. In order to have personhood or to be worthy of autonomy, you needed to possess rationality. And in some cases, depending on the theorist, demonstrate rationality. But by definition, women did not have rationality. So, why is this relevant or important to liberalism? Remember that for liberal feminism, liberalism itself is a core foundation. Well, for liberalism, rights come from rationality. So if you can be proven to have rationality, if you can demonstrate rationality, then you are by default worthy of rights. You deserve rights. And rights are the priority, right? Having equal rights is the paramount priority of government, of the individual. What you want are rights. And equality means equal rights. Let's think about this for a moment because I want us to distinguish equality of opportunity versus equality of outcome. And when we talk about equal rights here, in this kind of context, what we mean is equal opportunity, not equal outcome. That is, everyone has the same chance, the same on paper rights, the same opportunity to succeed, but not necessarily the same outcome. Now, this begs an important question. How do you demonstrate rationality? Can you demonstrate rationality? What exactly makes a person rational? Have you ever done anything that's irrational? Have you done things that definitely demonstrate that you are rational? Keep those things in mind because liberal feminism comes from a place in which it approaches feminism abiding by these central tenets of liberalism, that we must first and foremost prove that women meet the criteria of rationality. So, rationality must be demonstrated to not be male. Rationality is not male, it is not masculine, and it is not defined by manhood. That's central to liberal feminism. Also central to liberal feminism is abiding by that central tenet of liberalism and Enlightenment thinking. If any rational being deserves rights, and females/women, and I'll come back to that idea in a second, are equally capable of rationality, then females, qua women, are equally deserving of rights. And this is important because under a particularly early liberal feminism, they're not going to distinguish between female, the sex, and woman, the gender, in the way that we talked about in previous lectures, that we distinguish between the two as a sex gender system that is in somewhat a social construct and arbitrary. So if a rational being, any rational being, deserves rights, and females slash women are equally capable of rationality, then females slash women are equally deserving of rights. The central component to liberal feminism. So I will leave you with that for this particular lecture, and trying to keep these lectures a little bit shorter, so we'll stop there. Be sure to check out the next one.